You do your impression of a baked potato.
Conniving morning, when you had your pocket full, in a bill tell me morning. Now because you money done, you hustle for tell me morning. Yes, morning, neighbor, morning, neighbor, morning, morning, neighbor, morning, morning. I don't want you conniving morning. Neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. A 2 pound note and a guilder piece. This is all the money that me walk for. I said money neighbor, money neighbor, money, money neighbor, money, money. I don't want you conniving money. Oh Joseph.
good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another program of Buxtonian Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. I think today we should just dedicate to the drums. Let the drums play, let the drums play, let the drums play, let the drums play. You know, the African drums were used for several things, not only entertainment, but communication. The Congo drum, we like to call them Congo drums. Some people call them bongo drums. But the fact is the drums, the drums, the drums. When the drums roll, when the drums play, Massa used to get tizzick. Well, last year I heard the word tizzick on the plantation. They were afraid of what the drums were saying. Because the language of the drums is not a language that any and everybody could understand. It's not a language every and anybody could appreciate. But when they see the impact of the drums, when the spirits, when the entries, as they call them, take over their body and starts to manifest that joy, that African joy, they get worried. There are many among us who call it obia. Oh lad, obia da mawak obia, because you dance man shed. I love to see a good dance. I love to see a good comfort dance. I love when the drummers play, and I guess Rhonda could tell us about that. Oladoy, I love that. I grew up, you know, sometimes these things just come. Y'all believe I write a script to come here and talk to you in the mornings. I don't. So I speak to you from the bosom of the heart, right? They say from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so when I speak to you in the mornings, it is from the abundance of the heart. Man and young man and share the life. We're too far away from 500. Share the life. I don't think I'll go in extra. I ain't going past 9 o'clock today unless I'm talking to 1,000 persons, minimum. So keep that in mind. It's a holiday over here, you know. It's arrival day in Guyana. Arrival day in Guyana. Arrival day. They call it, well, you know, some people are shame of their own deeds and shame of their own history. Right? So when the legislation was passed, as far as I remember, it was first, what's the word, promulgated as Indian Arrival Day. And then the shame. And I think it was adjusted to just Arrival Day. But the fact is, and this is what people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand this. Once it is put out there, it is put out there, man. Right? You see, that is why I tell people I don't accept sorry easily. Because a lot of people believe that if they can do something and then say sorry, it will be okay. Knowing very well that the deed has already been done. Right? And that is the trickery that the PPP worked with us Guyanese. They put it out there, big discussing legislation to make May 5th Indian Arrival Day and so on. And then, the legislators can correct me if I'm wrong. They went to Parliament and they passed a bill for May 5th to be Arrival Day. And so when people talk about Indian Arrival Day and they want to play politics, they say, no, it is Arrival Day. It is damn Indian Arrival Day. Look at the significance of May 5th. And you will know that on May 5th, many, many moons ago, the first indentured immigrants from the shores of, like one would like to say, the slums of India, arrived in Ghana. So today is Arrival Day, popularly known as Indian Arrival Day. Good? So I was saying to you that when I speak from the bosom of my heart, the abundance of my heart. And so when I talk about comfort, them drums and things, I remember I grew up with a woman we call Sylvina. Sylvina and John Gowe. Up to now, if you are, I think they were Williams. Yeah, I think they might have been Williams. That might be their family names. Somebody can correct me. I'm sure some offspring is on this live. But Sylvina and John Gowe. Two wonderful souls, man. I was always over their home. I think Sylvina was my godmother. my godmother, they lived a few lots away from us, 2 or 3 lots. And so I was always there. And Sylvina was into recognizing our African roots and culture. And so when you see Sylvina throw them, you see Shelley Douglas says she remembers Sylvina. Sylvina eventually migrated to the US, Sylvina and Maudlin were good friends. My mother's them, no man. I had plenty of money, And so, when Sylvina threw a service, and Little Jones, y'all don't know these things, but I'm telling you all these things. You got to get connected with your cultural history at some point in time. You got to know these things. Little Jones, Little Jones was a brass band. And when Little Jones started licking drums, and them Congo drums start lash, you see all kinds of magic. People call it magic. Dexter Walters, don't come here and change the good morning spirit. Rest yourself. We're going to get there just now. We're going to know who we must praise. The Indian brothers and sisters are to praise us Afro-Guyanese. African brothers and sisters for making their arrival late. They don't have to come and do the hard work. So shut your mouth and let me teach. You want to preempt this conversation? I'm sure this Dexter Walters got to be one of them from Bad Settlement trying to influence the direction of the conversation this morning. Not here. Go host your own program. Yes. And so you see all kind of magic. At least people would call it magic. I see people dance on the head. From top to bottom a step. Yeah? Well, let's say she enjoy Little Jones. Well, yes, I think she's old enough, perhaps. Little Jones, people dance on their head. Candle on their head. And regardless of what I do, candle ain't going no way. They're right there, sit down on top of their head. All kinds of things. Rhonda must share some of those experiences with us. And those of you who have had this experience of the quote-unquote entries doing the thing when the drums play, one of these days we have to have this kind of discussion. And it is nothing to be ashamed of. A lot of people like say about obia and so on. That's our culture. At least I don't believe my culture is tied up in some man nailed up on a cross. Right? I believe that there is a creator. I believe that there is a greater being than me who is responsible for my existence. I will always give thanks and praise for that. Yes. But I doubt whether it could be the same man who the white man says allow them to beat and kill and murder a whole set of people. Rape a whole set of my ancestors. I don't believe that's the same person. It can't be. See, my Father in heaven, would you allow me to be abused in such a way? And allow the other set of children, as they claim to be doing this brutality to your children? No, man, blood thicker than water. So y'all don't come and tell me the thing. I got my own beliefs, I got my own outlook where religion is concerned. I don't say I'm a Christian, I don't say I'm an atheist, I acknowledge a living God, a creator, Mother God, Father God, right? Good. But that's not about me. We're talking the thing, right? You're not to be ashamed of embracing your spirituality. Because the other people do it. Just the other day I saw a video of a Swami or somebody, as they say, blessing is Purandans or something like that. I can't remember the exact word. But strange enough, they exhibited some of the same features we exhibit. when the entries take over. Here was this Indian sister dancing to the tassa drum or whichever drum they were using and ringing her head all over the place and, spirituality. Don't be afraid and ashamed of your spirituality. Right? You could beat me up when I'm done, but I'm waiting for us to get to 500. That's where we're going. We're starting with 500. Right? So when you hear them drums, I love drums, I love drums, I love drums. Drums make my skin grow. Many of us grew up in families where, as they would say, you're supposed to do work. But you're doing work. And because you're doing work, you're seeing your way. Y'all ever know? Y'all ever know? Huh? Y'all ever know? You gotta do work. I think my grandmother was highly spiritual. Estelle York. Estelle York. Estelle Sam. Right? That was my grandmother, the red-skinned woman. In my mind, she was short. I get an image of her being short. But highly spiritual. Estelle. Yes. But they say when you're supposed to do work and you don't do work, all kind of things are happening to you. Some people go blind. Some people get a good beating in their life. Every time they're supposed to do work and they did pass, they're sick and so on. Right? Y'all don't run from these things. Y'all got to acknowledge these things. It's part of our spirituality. Good? So I'm not afraid of drums. I love drums. I can tell you all a story. All I know. Congo nation are the highest nation. Nation away there. Congo people, come show me emotion. Yes, I'll keep it low in the background here. Congo people, come show me your nation. Yes. So, like I said, grew up around families that supposed to do work, but they're not doing work. And so they face the brunt of not doing work and so. I remember a particular evening, drums are there blaring. And some of my family members are around, Right? I remember all the time growing up, my mother would tell you that in keeping with her family tradition or generation and so on, she's highly spiritual. You should have seen my mother. She's black and beautiful. I think some of you saw the photos before. Or the one photo I might be able to find easily. Right? They used to call her Black Beauty or something to the extent. Black girl. It's such a black and shine. Multiply by 9. Sweet. Yeah, but she say, from her upbringing and so on, she always got the impression that people always told her, yo, you got things you're supposed to do, but you ain't doing it. You're going to take a beating for it. And she resisted until her death. As far as I know, my mother never do a work. But I see, but I saw or dance and people walk. Yes, my sister too. So I don't know if they're supposed to do work, but I know the drums has an impact on them. And it's not any kind of drumming that's make you dance, It's not any kind of drumming that's make up them entries. You gotta get a certain kind of beat. People react to certain kind of beat. I think I heard Rhonda talk about some drummer that every time he sees her, she has to tell him, look, don't do that to me, don't do that. And he would tell her, no, I ain't gonna play them drums like you for your dance, ma'am. I ain't gonna do it. Right? Because, hey, when some people hear drums, they ain't got control over that, Anywhere they hear the drums and the music, right, they dance. Savachiro says she believe it's just a belief. It's more than a belief. I certainly believe it's more than a belief. You can't just believe and you dance the hell out. You ain't got no control over your dance. And when you done dance and lick up yourself and so you wake up and you got bruises. Right? Right? Or it could be just a belief or just something you feel like doing and you ain't got no control over how you do it and when you do it. Nah. It's more than that. Anyhow, but them drums, the ancestors used drums to communicate their moves and their actions. Dependent on the rhythm and the pattern of drumming and so on, different messages can be sent and interpreted. The drummers, the specialists will tell you, the drum masters, whatever you call them, will tell you about the different beats. I think. Good? But the reality is, drums are an integral part of our culture. Don't be afraid and ashamed of them. I love drums. I will always play drums. I'm thinking about hosting a drum fest in BUXTONIAN right at KAMS place. I always had it in the back of my mind. I want to do two things. Host a drum fest where I bring some of the best drummers from around the country and let me drum all day and have fun. Right? That's one. And two, host a kwekwe dance. Right? Nobody's wedding, but a kwekwe dance. Let's do a kwekwe dance. Right? Those are things I want to do because I believe we must promote our culture. A lady told me, this. Why am I talking about this morning on a rival day? A lady told me this. She said I wasn't surprised when the David Granger government lost the elections. I was surprised about the hardships that they were getting in government. Because they forget their roots. They forget from where they came. Right? They forgot their roots. She said they win the election and they said, okay, they give libation. They pour libation. Then acknowledge the ancestors and the ancestral efforts. But I want to keep running to church. Every day you could see you in church. Right? Every day you could see you in church. But you never sign back, acknowledge the ancestors one day. And so, this is the woman talking. And so I didn't expect them to have an easy time in government. And I wasn't surprised when they lost. She said, you see the one in Fernali there? They give the PPP the win. They show you Fernali, Ali don't kill one bull in each county of this country. And I'm very serious. She said it to me. She's sure if Fernali don't kill one bull in every county. Because he acknowledged whatever it is that you acknowledge by the killing of bulls. Right? Somebody says just to believe. God, people say they got a spell cast across this country that God Guyanese is stupid. They don't know what to do to deal with the people. That too might be just to believe. But I say acknowledge him in all thy ways. Who is him? That is what you have to determine who to acknowledge. Right? Anyhow, we're still away from 500. I know why you're wasting time. It's almost 8 o'clock. Some of y'all think of bantering, huh? Yeah, y'all ain't bantering. I come here with good intentions. It's a rival day. They say Indian a rival day. The topic, I titled the program this morning, when them come and where them come from. Right? A rival day, how and why them come? That is what we have to ask. We know where they came. But why did they come? They come because They were looking for betterment. Everybody came. Lots of people arrived. Lots of people arrived. But we named this specific date, May 5th, as Indian Arrival Day. When are we going to acknowledge the arrival of the other people? August 1st is known as Emancipation Day. That's the day that saw our enslaved ancestors regaining their freedom, winning back their freedom. Emancipation Day, August 1st. But who acknowledged them coming? Nobody acknowledged that they came. The Chinese came. The Portuguese came. The Indians came. The Europeans came. But only Indian Arrival Day we got. You see the picture, something wrong? And then I saw a letter the other day where one of our Indian brothers, Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese, is saying that there's need for an entire month to acknowledge Indo-Guyanese. You know they got Amerindian Heritage Month? This brother is now arguing or putting into the public domain for consideration an Indian Arrival Month. Right? You see that? So we ain't got an African Arrival Month. We ain't got an African Emancipation Month. Princess Marcus, we could talk about Frida Marcus. Frida Marcus, Sister Frida, Mother Frida. Yes, there's no African Arrival Month. There's no African Heritage Month. The only people who had a month in this country is Amerindians. Amerindian Heritage Month. So here it is, with an Indian-dominated government in place. This brother is saying, we need an Indian month. Right? So what about the others? 6 races we see. So 6 months of the year must be dedicated to arrivals and heritage. Consider that. I don't have the answer, I'm just putting it out there. I'm just asking the questions. But let me talk about coming. Let's talk about coming. Some people came, others were brought. Some people came voluntarily, others were brought against their will. And some others who came, why they came? Why they came? I got to tell you though. Why they came? Indians were first introduced into British Guyana in the year 1838 under a system of indenture which came to an end in 1917. For the cessation of this vicious system which existed for 79 years, we feel proud to place on record the excellent patriotic work in this connection of the late Reverend Mr. Gokali, Gandhi and others. We must however mention that even under the old system, the treatment bestowed on Indians was better in British Guyana than that given them anywhere else. Right? We are in a position definitely to state that the Indians now resident in British Guyana comprise about 45% of the entire population of the colony. And they are better, safer, happier, and more prosperous there than those residing in other parts of the world, and even, we venture to say, India itself. It may be well to mention that in the social and religious aspects, Indians enjoy perfect freedom. The general ideas in these respects are somewhat more westernized than in India. All children in the colony are entitled to receive free and compulsory education. That's what the Indians came to. They came because they were offered a better life, a better way of life in these parts, an extension of the British Empire. And so after the emancipation of enslaved Africans in 1838, plantocrats had to get replacement labor. Just as how Canada and Britain and the United States not so long ago, and even now advertised that, look, we're looking for professionals. Professionals from other parts of the world. Caribbean people, you're welcome to apply. Remember the Windrush generation, they call them? They were invited to populate parts of England and contribute their skill for the development and growth of India. Right? In 1838, the British advertised in India. They promoted the possibility in India of Indian nationals leaving those shores where they were living in many instances under abject poverty. Right? Abject poverty. So they say, hey, we have a way of you to come out of your poverty-stricken state. Just as the developed world is offering Caribbean nationals and third world nationals. Come as immigrant labor. We're going to take care of you for X number of years. And so they came. No, they came voluntarily to escape poverty in their homeland. What did they reach when they came? They came to a well-established situation. Their lodges were already constructed. They didn't have to go build in a house. House been done built for them. Call them lodges. Provision was already made for them. They know whether they're going and sleep. They know whether they're eating. They know what they were going to be paid. Who made the preparations to them? Preparations were used. The preparations were made using African skills and labor. Involuntary labor, if I can call it that, enslaved labor, extorted labor. So the Afro-Guyanese brothers and sisters, the enslaved Africans, prepared a way for them. When I thought about that just now, I remember some part in the Bible say, I will go and prepare a place for you. The enslaved Africans were brought here to prepare a place for them eventually. They came as scab labor. Why somebody calling me now? It's not time to call in yet, but I'm going to listen. Call, how may I help you? Good morning. Why are you calling me before the call-in time? You have a way of breaking the rules. You always do this. I will have to rebuke you.
I am so sorry. Well, this couple days now I'm trying to get you to your program before. But somehow, please, try to, I totally enjoy all your speeches before. But
Okay.
So I'm trying my best. I'm at my job, ready to but I can't contribute to the program.
Call on your life. Go right ahead, make your contribution.
I'm sorry?
Go right ahead, make your contribution. Your life.
Okay, thank you so much. Now I do enjoy all of your your information in regards to our history and the position that we're at presently. This is my view. Now I think we would want most of the population, which is more than half the population, are young people, right? We have to get the message over to them. Now, I enjoy, as most times, when you have your special guest. For us to reach young people, we have to stop lamenting too much about 400 years ago. We have to get the young people where they are. They're here. The world, because of the internet, is a small place. Young people are influenced about what they see. We have to encourage them with vision, because our time has passed. Now it's our children who are the future. They want vision. They don't want people to take them back in the past. I'm not in any way attacking anybody. What I'm saying, young people are more than 50% of the population.
Caller.
And we have to reach them.
Caller.
Yes.
I hope you have the time. I have the time. We're going to get this morning.
Sure.
Because I can learn from you, and our viewers certainly can learn from this conversation. Hear me?
Yes.
Our young people don't want to go 400 years back. We have to reach them where they are. This is where our young people are, at least in the Guyanese society. Our young people are at a place where Indo-dominated government, the business sector dominated by Indo-Guyanese, etc. Say to our young people, blacks are capable of doing nothing. Y'all ain't do nothing. Y'all can't do nothing. Your generation, your people have no purpose. Right? And if we're going to reach our young people at a point where they are being told constantly, indoctrinated, that your people ain't got no purpose, and we don't take the opportunity to take them back to 400 years, to show them what our purposefulness resulted in, then we are basically allowing them to go down in ignorance, believing that they have no purpose, and their livelihood and future is dependent on the very people who tell them they have no purpose, and so whatever handouts and trinkets they hand them, that is what they're good for. Let's stop.
Point taken. Well, Mr. Kadaki, our responsibility as parents, okay? If we do the homework at home, all right?
And again,
you do your homework at home. You indoctrinate your children.
Question.
About the positiveness. We don't have to do anything.
Caller.
This is the thing. We always asking for apologies from other people.
Caller.
We don't have to do that.
Caller.
Yes. Yes.
We indoctrinate at home. We do our teachings at home. That is the individualistic approach. What about those parents, those families who do not have the wherewithal to do this teaching at home? Right now, I believe one of the biggest problems we face in the society, or many of the problems we face in the society, stem from the fact that many families do not have the wherewithal to socialize their children in the way that they really need to be socialized. And so I have a responsibility, and that is what I fulfill on these programs.
I totally agree with you, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Our business as a black community is to take care, not because I am well off, okay? My neighbor or two doors down, they're having a hard time with their children. I'm going to reject them. We always strive in the black community. We always strive on community. That's where that responsibility lies. If the mom or the dad can't do it as a community, we did it. I remember years ago. I'm like your age. I remember when my mom gone to work. I had Indian neighbors. Side of me, I had blacks above me. And when your mom and dad is not there, they take care of us. Why are we not having that, or why are we not promoting that in our community, especially the black community? Why are we not doing that? Instead, the same children we reject as neighbors, those are the children that when they become elders or when they become adolescents, they become a menace to the society.
Come from?
That will, I'm sorry?
Where did that rejection come from? In my mind, that rejection is the fruit of our individualistic thinking.
Mr. Kadaki, that's what is missing. It's missing in our society. It's not there anymore. That's why you have a lot of black boys and black girls that are going and do things that not supposed to be done. Where's the community? Where is the community? Since Mr. Bornum passed, we lack pride. We lack this connection. It's not there.
And could it be because of lack of wisdom, a lack of knowledge of our past?
Yeah, okay.
And so am I trying to correct that this morning?
I'm sorry?
And so am I trying to fix that, contribute to bridging that gap of lack of knowledge?
No. I think you're doing a perfect job. But my thing is we have to get the young people in. The topic really is in the black community. Community. We have to take care of those the less fortunate ones, because those are the ones that will become, as some people would call, a menace to you. If you reject them, you don't care about them because it's not your children. You have to. You have to as individuals. That's part of doing your work. As you said, sometimes, in our culture, you feel when things don't go well, it's because you're not doing your work. You could do your work in many ways. You could do your work in reaching out to your neighbor who's having a hard time with 3 or 4 children. Go and meet them. When the parent is not there, go see what's going on with the children. Listen, that's how I grew. And I think we are so strong. We are strong. This is the thing. I love me. I don't care who tell me I'm good for nothing. I love me. So we need to promote that more.
Thank you, caller. You've had 10 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kadaki. Keep up a good job.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
You too. Bye.
Now everybody is calling, so I don't get to do what I was doing, right?
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki.
Good morning to you.
You know, I listened to your program this morning and I get a recap it, Mr. Dr. Hines. Right? The first thing for everybody to move on in Guyana, you got to accept the truth about Guyana. You understand? The truth about Guyana, political arena, right? You can cannot run for the facts that the PP have the numbers by them side. The PNC and the coalition have to come up with a plan. I believe the local government arm in Guyana have to strengthen so everybody gonna get a seat, because the PP have the number on their side. And let me don't fool ourselves. You understand? The PP have the number by their side. You understand? The another thing, Guyana population, you get one section of the population is public servants, another section is the business community, and then you get the small business, and you get the miners. You understand? The only political party in Guyana know who they're representing and what they're representing them for is the PP. The PNC doesn't even know who you represent and what you represent it for. So that is a big problem. Because when you look at it, the Afro-Guyanese, they're in the public servants. The Afro-Guyanese, they're in the mining. Most of the small vendors on the road is Afro-Guyanese. Understand? And these three people, 2 out of them does not get no representation from the PNC. The PP now, on the other hand, is representing the fisher folks, the farmers, the sugar workers, and the larger business community. And then the PNC has been forced to represent them same set of people. So them people are getting 2 representation in Guyana, when the rest of people is getting non-representation. And everybody got to live with the fact that the PP have the numbers by their side. You understand? And it's not easy how long the PP numbers not get vexed to them for the PNC win the election in Guyana. This thing with international body and rigging of election and international body, the PP have the numbers by themselves. The Amerindia will never vote for a PNC party. I telling you that 100%, the Amerindia will never vote. Let me tell you, this last election, my father bet his whole life pension that if the PNC get the Amerindian vote, let everybody take their pension. You want it back now. We just go in the bush, and we know Amerindian think.
Carlo,
Hey.
I like y'all so much that I hate y'all. Somehow you're too bright. Where does hatred come from? Why would you say the Amerindians hate black people?
When Kadaki, y'all never go in the bush. I don't know where it come from.
All right.
But y'all never go in the bush. Yeah, let me tell
Well,
you.
I don't need to go in the bush to know this. According to the guides, that is why our parents sent us to school.
Yeah.
So that we could explain these things. But continue.
Let me tell you something. When you go in the bush, right? It's easy for an Indian to walk on an Amerindian reservation than a black to walk there. It's easier for an Indian to go and sleep with an Amerindian for a black to go and sleep with them. Amongst them. They don't eat with you. They don't sleep with you. Or nothing. You know that I did a Buffalo child in an Amerindian village? Then I hold up his ear and say, "Dog God, watch your ear shoot you." You understand? These are reality.
Thank you, caller.
These are things.
You had 5 minutes. You had 5 minutes. Thank you.
Good.
I got the idea.
Right.
Listen, y'all call them bias. I can't take your calls now, man. Y'all disrupting my class. Andrew Fitzpatrick says nonsense. No, Andrew, it's not nonsense. Clive Semper says the caller doesn't know what he's talking about. No, Clive, not nonsense. You know, race and ethnicity and so on is a topic that Guyanese don't discuss, and they don't discuss freely because everybody is afraid of being called a racist. But historically, there has been a distrust among Amerindians and Africans. And this is why it is always important to go back to your past. Because when you go back to the past, you will understand from whence you came, and you will understand the relationships from that time, and how that those relationships affect you in this time. Let's talk about it. When enslaved Africans decided we're going to stand for this nonsense and this plantation, we are going to get away. We're going to escape. We're going to maroon. Note the word, the maroons. Y'all got to read about the maroons. How many of you know anything about the maroons? Do you know there were maroons in Guyana? In fact, I want to believe every slave territory had maroons. But everybody, when we talk about maroons, everybody look to Jamaica. Right? But when the slaves decided, okay, y'all gonna get the car just now, man. Don't make a block, y'all. Selwyn Benjamin says, let him go to Linden, he will change his views. Selwyn, you listen to me and you might change your views. Man, this phone is distracting me, man. I'm gonna go upturn it. I ain't gonna see it ringing. Read about the maroons. Do your research. But let's stop. So when the black slaves decided that they're going to escape and they were going deep into the interiors to live, away from the slave plantation, they did that. They established ground provision grounds. That's where they ate. That's where their food came from. Some of them planted rice. And so that is how they were providing for themselves, deep in the bushes, we like to say. Who did Massa use to hunt them down? George Steller? I disagree with you. Who did Massa use to hunt them down? The Amerindians are good trackers and hunters. And they were used to track and hunt those who ran away from the slave plantation and marooned. That's part of the broken relationship, if you want to call it that. But among the things that happened was that African men, maroon as they were, they remain human. I think the previous caller spoke about, no, not the caller, the same document spoke about an imbalance in the number of males and females that came to these shores as indentured immigrants and slaves. And so human nature, you got for sex. And some maroon as they are, when they had the opportunity to sex, they did just that. By fair or foul means. And so you listen to Amerindian historians and so on, and they will always tell you Africans rape the women. Africans raped the women. But they hunted Africans. So they were hunting Africans to Massa. And Africans were taking advantage on the women. At least that is what my history taught me. And so that fractured relationship remained there. And it is always there. There's always distrust among especially the Amerindians for Afro-Guyanese. Always. And just like this scholar said, his father bet his pensions that the coalition couldn't win the Amerindian votes. I am sure I told you guys before that I raised it with the late Imran Khan when I recognized the Granger administration pouring so much resources into the Amerindian communities, whether or not they weren't making the Desmondite mistake. And I was saying that from the very historical perspective that the Amerindians will not easily trust and do not really trust Africans or Afro-Guyanese. And so you hear the caller, he has had a first-hand experience of being in the bush and seeing how they treat the women who gave birth to black children. They call them Bufiado. So that distrust and that broken relationship is there, and it will continue to be there. It is similar to the relationship among Africans and Indians, or Afro-Guyanese and Indo-Guyanese. How often do I talk about the isolation, about the rejection that Indian women face when they get entangled with African men? Douglas Pickney, I grew up hearing a common joke, if you call it that, of people saying, black man a crab, cool your dog, and when they make Douglas Pickney, they get one crab dog. People call this racism, but it's a historical fact and a lies by the layman in the layman's language. And so when people saying this person doesn't know what he is talking about, or that person, it is us, the very people who saying that, who have failed to make the historical connections. Somebody is saying go to Linden. You will see differently. Yes, there is always what you call an outlier. Social scientists, they generally speak, in most cases, you talk as if it's absolute. But you talk from a position of what the majority is. What is the major experience? Right? The only thing I agree with this call about is Indo-Guyanese having the numbers, or the PPP having the numbers to win an election. The PPP, if they were to be dependent on Indo-Guyanese vote alone, cannot win an election. The PNC, if they were to be dependent on Afro-Guyanese vote alone, cannot win an election. Both of these parties are dependent on some amount of votes from the Amerindian-Guyanese community to make it over the finish line. History has shown us that the possibility is the PPP will get the Amerindian-Guyanese support faster than the PNC will get it. So the PNC has to work perhaps doubly hard to get the Amerindian-Guyanese support. But there are those who will argue right now that the numbers of the Indo-Guyanese have so dwindled in this country because all of them are migrating because of hardships or whatever reason, that even with the Amerindian-Guyanese votes, if you don't have Afro-Guyanese votes for the PNC, for the PPP, they can't win the election. Can't win the election. But y'all just mess up the whole agitation. Because I broke my rule and I took the call before 8. Right? So let's continue to keep the lines open. I hope you learned enough to tantalize your minds that you will go and do the necessary research. Like, you know, good teachers give homework. Good teachers give homework. And it's, for me, it's a pertinent arrival day conversation we're having. Who came? Who came voluntarily? Who was brought against their will? And who benefited from who? The foundation for Indian growth and development was created by the Africans who were enslaved. And so they came, the Indians came, and they had a smooth transition, quite frankly. They had something already there for them. And while the African labor was used to prepare this foundation for them, their labor was used to undermine the African efforts. Because remember, by the time they came, the foundation was already there, and the Africans were now building their communities. After 1838, then is when Africans were free to chart their own course, if you can call it that. And so they started establishing communities. They started negotiating the price of their labor. But here came the invention of scab labor. And so like they always do in the market, and you see the when black man roll out that this lighter is for $40, you know guys will come and say, "Buy my get 300, 300." So when your past as it is linked to your present, and now we're going to affect your future. That's a racial, me racist, but I speak from historical facts. Caller, good morning, life. What just McDonald is saying?
Facts. Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. Good morning, everyone in the diaspora. Great topic. The gentleman that just called earlier, he was talking a lot of truths about going into the bush, you know, in the history, and you backed it up by showing some more history about that. And President Granger placed a lot of emphasis.
Beg your pardon, no. A little by step and a bigger man too. Beg your pardon, oh me no. Morning, neighbor, morning. Welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time. It is 7:23 hours on the 6th of May in the year 2022. I'm your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Welcome to another program. Pick up from where we left off. Do the things that we should have done. Y'all know the one? That's oldies. Oldies are goldies, you know. We always sometimes have to pick up from where we left off and do the things we should have done. How many of you see your old girlfriend, your classmate, your schoolmate, your groupmate, that you always had a crush on, and, you know, you say to your mind, boy, I really dropped the ball. I really dropped the ball. I wish we could pick up from where we left off. We were great friends, but I wish I had taken it a tad further. Yeah? Well, pick up from where we left off. Or from where our ancestors left off. But many of us dropped the ball. We ain't picking up nothing. Some people might say, no, Kidaki, you're wrong. There are people picking up things. They're picking up soap. Hey, it's Free Talk Friday. Welcome to another program. Welcome to another program. Where's my hat, man? I don't know. Where did I put my hat? I don't know. You know, sometimes when I put on the hat, I don't only look cute, you know. It's like wearing the wisdom of the ancestors. Well, adoy. Yes, we talking this morning. Yesterday we started talking about arrival. Who come and what them come for. When them come and what them come for. But you know, some people will say that the topic was kind of derailed or was taken into a direction perhaps where I didn't intend to go with it. But that's not totally true. Because I think we covered a whole lot based on the phone calls and so on. Sometimes you just don't stick to a rigid order. You have to switch up the thing. Switch up the thing. Variety is the spice of life. Remember that, right? Variety is the spice of life. Legend has it that Ptolemy Reed, every time his wife asks him, what would you like to eat today, he says, cook up, right? Cook up. Cook up. Every day is cook up because cook up is the best meal in the whole world as far as Ptolemy Reed is concerned. I think so too, right? And some people would say every day you eat cook up. Yes, I could eat cook up every single day. Because cook up allows for variety. Today you could give me black eye cook up with chicken foot. Tomorrow I could get red bean cook up with fried fish. The next day you could give me a 3 bean cook up. Oh, I love a 3 bean cook up. With mixed meat. Right? The other day you could give me a channel cook up. I tell. Next day you could give me a shine rice. So you could give me cook up for 7 days. And I will not complain because cook up allows for variety. Variety is the spice of life. Right? Yeah. So it's not every time you have to stick to this rigid, I'll open up the lines at 8 and not before. Good? But listen, yesterday we started talking about they come and what them come from, what them meet and so on. And the reality is, like it or not, it's documented that when the East Indians came to Ghana as indentured laborers, indentured servants, they came and they got it good, they met it good. Some people try to rewrite history and say they were treated just as slaves, just as the enslaved. Not true. They were not treated as the enslaved. They came and they met better conditions. Right? While the enslaved were freed, when they regained their freedom in 1838, that is when they had to start. They had to start from zero. While the plantocrats were receiving compensation for the loss of labor, and they were receiving the Indians, the indentured immigrants as cheap replacement for the labor that they lost and so on. The Africans had to start from zero. That is when they had to be now working with massa. They couldn't demand their price because the Indians were brought in as scab labor. Those of you who are familiar with the industrial relation terms will understand scab labor. Strike breakers. Once the Indians were present, the freed Africans, or freed men as some people refer to them, couldn't say, well, we're withholding our labor from the plantation because the price is not right. They couldn't say that because the Indians were there as replacement labor. Their bargaining power was on the mind. And it was undermined by a people that they made preparation for, quite frankly. Because by the time the Indians came, the blacks had already tamed the land. They had already designed and laid out and did all the hard work. The Indians came to logies and compensation. blacks didn't have that luxury. They were starting from zero. But within a short number of years, they were able to buy villages, buy abandoned plantations, turn them into villages, homestead, lay them out in a progressive way. But didn't they have challenges? Yes, the challenges were almost insurmountable. Because you have to eat. And you have to provide for your offspring. Food is important. And so when they decided that they were going to establish a farmlands so that they don't have to depend on massa for their supper, massa recognized that that was a form of independence to them, or further independence. That would strengthen them even further. And so they decided, they came up with a trick that I think even the PPP utilizes up until now. We will flood their lands. We will destroy their productive capacity. And so they will forever be dependent on us for handouts. I mean, we say black people like handouts too much and so on. But have you taken the time to stop and recognize that was part of the socialization of the blacks, especially those who came to these parts of the world? As enslaved, they had to depend on massa for handouts for their ration and weekly ration. As freedmen, they still were dependent on massa for handouts, because when they destroyed the farmsteads and so on, farmlands, like it or not, they had to return to the estate to work. Good. And so we argue, they say, lots of the clowns, the intellectually lazy, come on this program, say, black people can't do nothing. Black people have done nothing. Black people incapable. Black people have no purpose in life. But let's talk about the challenges that black people have had charting their course as against some people. This document, which I'm quoting from extensively, says, no barrier of any kind is erected against Indians in British Guiana, as is the case in Natal, South Africa, etc. Here they enjoy equal rights and privileges in the truest sense of the words, on the principle of man and brother. It proceeds from the colony as a whole, represented by its legislature and its various public bodies, municipal and otherwise. The facilities granted for developing the resources of the colony will be available for Indian capitalists on precisely the same conditions as for others. The constitution of the colony is of ancient date, based upon treaties, forced of surrender and ultimately purchased from the Dutch by the British Empire, and provides for a popular majority. Indians and their local born descendants are to be found in all the professional, industrial, agricultural, and commercial ranks, and they participate in the municipal and political life of the country. We have at the present time an Indian mayor in our second city and an elected Indian representative in the legislature of the colony. Now, when this document is waxing lyrical about Indians, right, being allowed equal opportunity according to the document, can we say the same for blacks? Did the Africans in this part of the world, freed men and women, were they given equal opportunities? Those who want to be honest will tell you no. Because apart from the challenges, taxation without representation, y'all remember those stories? Boxing people stopped trading. It was because of taxation without representation. Right? Flooding out of the farmlands. Passing legislation that prevented blacks from participating in certain aspects of the economy. Right? While, according to the document, Indians were not prevented from participating in any aspect of the economy, blacks were prevent it. I said yesterday, and I'm repeating it, in terms of imports and trade and industry, as I like to call it, commerce, blacks weren't allowed to own commercial enterprises like dry goods store and haberdasheries and groceries and so on. No, they weren't. A system was set up to ensure that even though the blacks were making money or earning money, or making money, earning money in their communities that they established after buying abandoned plantations, those monies couldn't stay in the communities. They weren't. The monies weren't staying among blacks. There were systems in place to ensure that that money was channeled Okay, sure, you can send them now. So I'll talk about it on the program so they can get a memo. Thank you. Good. You perhaps can send a voice note also. Good. Just send a voice note now. Send a voice note with the photos. Good, right? Mm-hmm. Right. A concerned citizen is at the hospital and he's getting problems. I get him big. Y'all tell me where it was. Oh, yes. So the system was devised to ensure that the black man's money didn't stay in the black man's community. Some will try to tell me I'm a madman, I'm racist, I don't know what I'm talking about. But let me continue to talk. When the haberdasheries in the dry goods store and grocery and so on in the black communities had to be controlled by the Portuguese, because the Portuguese and Chinese were the ones who were allowed to do such trade, Europeans and so on, not black people. So you're not producing on the farm, you gotta go and buy from these shops. Your money going into the hand of other people, who for the most part taking it out of the black community. Right? Taking it out of the black community. So your resources are not necessarily staying there to develop your community. You're spending lots of your money on food, but you can't develop a food business because the money you're spending on food is not being spent by you. It came to employment in the sectors that I would say provided meaningful compensation at the time. You couldn't find a black postal worker, right? You couldn't find a black office worker in general unless they were the handymen working through the back or something. That is why many people came up with the slogan, if you're white is alright, if you're brown stick around, if you're black stand back. There's a joke I heard as recent as curly hair and so on, going to a particular place and saying that she came to be employed as a secretary. And when she was asked for her credentials, she submitted her birth certificate. And when they asked her for her academic qualification, she said she doesn't need that. She has the color, she has the look. And that is all that is necessary for her to get the job. It might sound like a joke. Many people might say a corny joke, but the reality is that is what was happening. Does it still happen? As crude as that, in that the person has no qualification whatsoever. But look around you. Are the most qualified and experienced people employed in the sectors of this country, in public service, for example? I like to reference Vince Adams every time we think about the EPA. A man who has worked in the US administration and all of that on these very environmental issues and so on. But it's not good enough to work in Guyana in the same area of environmental protection, despite the fact that he's more qualified and experienced than the person he was replaced with. Right? And that list can go on and on and on and on and on. You live in this country, you see what has been happening. Good? As we talk about the challenges, history would have shown us, for example, that when the plantocrats realized that black people were buying lands in developing villages, the prices escalated quickly. Right? By the time the Africans got to buying the third village, the price was way more than they paid for the first village. Also, the legislations were changed. In that while it took, 124 persons, I think, to buy, was it Victoria Buxton? The legislation was changed to say that more than so many persons can buy an abandoned plantation. Let's say 60%. I don't remember the numbers exactly. Right? So when a whole host of people, let's say 100 persons, were first able to pool their resources and acquire something, when the oppressors realized that, hey, black people are unity, all of them pooling their resources and getting this thing, let us put some problems among them. Let us put some problems among them. Let's reduce the number of them who could come together and buy anything. And so by doing that, what you do is reduce the capital that is available to them. Good? So if 100 people could come together and get $100,000, when you chop that number in half, the possibility is that that 50 will only be able to get $50,000 or less. And so they can't get to the goal, at least in a timely manner. Those were some of the challenges. Those continue to be some of the challenges. People will tell you of their experiences in the banking sector of this country. Blacks have proposals that they go to the bank with and they get a royal runaround. And they use the Indian counterparts to go with the very proposals. And at the drop of a hat, they get through. A lot of people like to say black people don't like go to the bank for money. Black people don't like take mortgages. Black people don't like take loan. Black people have a poor history of repayment. I hear that so much. But I don't hear them say that the system is stacked against blacks when it comes to banking and financing. And I don't hear them say that a lot of blacks are afraid to approach financial institutions because of the experiences of their foreparents. There are lots of people, lots of blacks, Africans, who whose foreparents will have told them stories of being cheated out of their properties by these very financial institutions. Because one thing is presented to them on the surface, and deep down underneath, like we like to say, the fine print. Advantage is taken of their ignorance. And so before they catch themselves, they're neck deep and can't dig out. And so they lose what is theirs. And when they would have had that bad experience and they pass it on to the next generation, it's likely that the next generation would be skeptical about approaching the very institutions that robbed them out of their inheritance, if I can call it that. And so it's not that black people don't like go to the banks and black people are afraid of taking loans and mortgages and so on. It is that black people don't trust the system. And there's enough evidence across the globe to show why black people shouldn't trust the system. Y'all remember the guy who owns or owned Church's Chicken, who owned the franchise of Church's Chicken in Ghana? Campbell. Not so long ago, Campbell was up in arms in the public about the way the bank was treating him. He had a long track record of success. He had a solid banking history and so on. But when he applied to the bank for financial facilities, they gave him hell. And the interest rate was higher than his quote-unquote Indian counterparts who applied for similar or more exorbitant facilities with less collateral, less track record, less history of success than he had. And so when he came to realize that, he raised hell in the newspaper, in the public domain. Well, how many of us have paid attention to that? And how many of us have protested and raised hell for fairer banking practices? People who say that blacks are lazy and blacks can't run business and blacks are this and blacks are that. How many of them came to the forefront and say, well, here, this is a cooperative republic. We want people, one nation, one destiny. Each person should have a fair chance at success. Let us level the playing field. Why is it that this Indian guy asking for $10 million with a whole car's collateral? With an old car's collateral. Getting more favorable conditions than this African chap who's asking for the same amount of money but has the latest BMW as collateral. Just an example, just, you know. Good? So when we talk about these things, a lot of people get peeved. Yesterday morning, just as I concluded the program, one of our owners, we like to say, called to tell me. He actually called to speak with you on the program. That when Idi Amin put the Indians out of Uganda, they were allowed to leave with 2 suitcases and 50 pounds, or something to that extent. His argument was that all of the capital for these businesses which the Indians had established were left in the country. And it wasn't taken away, as I was saying. I'm repeating that to say 2 things. First and foremost, I said by ending my program, regardless of how you see it, one thing is important. You cannot keep a people oppressed What's with these phones this morning? You cannot keep a people oppressed and separated from such things that will allow them to gain experience and knowledge, and then pluck them from that position of oppression and place them where experience and knowledge is required. They will fail. Mistakes will be made. And paraphrasing, obviously I won't remember exactly how I said it. But that's the long and short of it. The Ugandan experience was that the Indians were dominating the society. Some of the very things that we talk about are some of the very things that they were accused of. Segregation, racism, cronyism, corruption. Y'all go and research. Right? And Idi Amin said this nonsense got stopped. Y'all ain't integrating. Are Indians integrating in the Guyanese society? from indentureship to now, do you believe that they have really integrated? Take their leaders, the PPP, as an example. Do you think the PPP has really integrated into this society as a truly Guyanese institution, or a truly Guyanese, a patriotic group of people? I doubt it. Right? But back to the point. The 2 suitcases and 50 pounds or $50 is, what we call that? Myths and legends. Folklore. And so this scholar who was telling me yesterday about 50 pounds and 2 suitcases or whatever, let him go revisit the history that he has read. Because I've read differently. There's one businessman, for example, who said he restarted after relocating with 17,000 pounds. Or 1,700 pounds, whatever the amount. But it was 17, certainly not $50. Hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars. So let him go check that. Right? So we talk about these quote unquote failures, inadequacies of Africans. But the question is whether or not Africans will develop their skills. Were they given the opportunity to get the quality education that was necessary? The document says that the Indians, the children of the Indians, were allowed compulsory and free education or something to that extent. What were the experiences of the Afro-Guyanese, Africans, freed Africans? At what point in time were they allowed education? These are questions that we have to ask if we are going to address this disparity and this so-called lackadaisical attitude of Africans. And so I go to the past because the past is definitely going to instruct for the present and the future. Our children ask, why in a village as old or as big as Buxton there is no black-owned hardware store? Because historically, blacks weren't allowed to own those things. And even when the tides turned, and blacks were allowed to participate, the obstacles in the path to participation were so great that many stumbled along the way and never got to the goal. Right? They can't get to the goal. There are people who would have had great ideas. I want to own a hardware store in Buxton, but does the banking system allow fairness for them to access that capital? I remember in the times of troubles, as we call it throughout this country, what was happening in Buxton certainly affected Annandale, certainly affected Traspay. I'm talking about villages to the east and west of Buxton. But when you go to lending institutions, they tell you we're not doing business with Buxtonians. I remember the New Building Society. Know the name New Building Society. I was banking there, or I was saving there because they have the special savings and ordinary savings and so on. It's not a bank really, you know. My mother had an account there. In fact, we had a joint account there. And I had an opportunity to purchase property, and I went to them and I started investigating what is the procedure. And when the officer recognizes some Buxton, he said, "You're not doing business with Buxton." But somebody from Annandale would have gone first to ground zero, as I was. And so we can shout and ask, why you didn't get to buy it? Are you black people ain't got no purpose? But did you look at the disadvantage? Did you look at how the system treated me as against the Indian brother from Annandale? So there are lots of things which must be considered when we are trying to paint black people as having no purpose, as failures. So our youths come into this here and they ask, why y'all got this? And many of us are not versed in the history of this oppression to sit them down and help them to understand what was happening and what continues to happen. And so they hear this mantra from the other side that I ain't good for nothing, I ain't got no purpose. And they start to believe it. And then, having indoctrinated them by constantly repeating this nonsense, they call them to the table and say, hey, I'm going to give you a chance to get out of the poverty that your people in because they ain't got purpose. Come be a drug mule for us. Come be an enforcer for us. Come be a gunman for us. Come be a bodyguard for us. Come be a thug. Come be the token Negro in the hierarchy of things. So we can embarrass you in public. Hey, I just sit down now you're disturbing. Imagine what happens behind closed doors. And so they see this carrot and they run and they grab it, thinking that it is the greatest opportunity that they can be presented with, because in the first place, they ain't good for nothing, they ain't got no purpose. They ain't got a sense of history. Many of us talk about Black Wall Street, but that's not a Guyanese thing. But Black Wall Street is an example of African success. But while many of us talk about it, how many others do not know about it? And so our young people, we say they don't read because of the generation gap. A lot of us don't have the opportunity to sit and talk things with them because they're caught up in the nonsense. Y'all ain't got no purpose. The only thing we got for y'all is push drugs and flash guns and go to big parties and strip yourself naked and so on, to advertise your body parts or to show who can gyrate better, or who got clean up butt, and so on and so forth. And so you're stuck in this rut. Not because you can't do better, but because there's a lack of understanding. What are we confronted with? You see, unless you recognize what is confronting you, you can't confront it successfully. And so because you ain't got no purpose, we're gonna give you the opportunity to stand out. We're gonna make you the man in your community. But in making you the man in your community, we're going to be using you to destroy the foundations on which your community was built. The very foundations on which your community could become stronger, we will use you to destroy it. And see how we're going to do. We're going to give you a contract to fix the ball ground. But you must break down the 10 feet or 12 feet zinc fence and put 4-foot chain link. We get what you do with the materials, man. You could use it as you see fit. We're going to make you the man in the community. We're going to show them. And we're going to give those around you contracts too. So they will recognize that once you're playing ball with us and you're getting others to play ball with us, we're going to show them the way. But we are going to destroy your community at the same time. Once you play ball with us, you could be the pusher man in the village. You could get your boys on the street corners pushing as if they're selling candies. And we ain't going to trouble them. And they're going to do nasty things to get a fix daily. But we're making you the man. Because without us, you ain't really got no purpose, you know. Without us, you're going to live in poverty. You're going to die like your ancestors died, poor. So you need us. And we recognize you need us. So we're going to be there for you. But in exchange, you must destroy the moral and other fabric of your community. You must be the poster boy for success. Despite all what they say about you, you're the worst human being. You are engaged in so much wrongdoing against humanity. You will still be the poster boy for success, because we will stand by your side and we will project your image as what the black man can achieve, the purpose of the black man. You're going to be the Don. You're going to be able to recruit more young black men to put their bodies to blows for us, to stand in the gap for us, to remove your brothers and sisters, people that look like you and I, from the equation when they challenge us, the oppressors. We will make you the man. That's what this generation is entrapped into. Why? Because many of us fail to sit. Many of us fail to understand the nexus, the relationship of the past to the present to the future. And so we try to live the present without a connection to the past, without an understanding of the past. And so we guide us in the present so we can move forward in a positive and successful way. Lisa Rose asked the question, where are the leaders to talk to the youths? Lisa, were you on a rock? No insult, but I want to know if you were under a rock. Where are the leaders to talk to the youths? The leaders are there. But are the youths listening? Are the youths willing to listen? Do the youths showing, in many instances successfully, denigrate the leaders? You think it's by mistake that the PPP comes and the representative comes on these programs every morning and say, Kidaki Amsterdam, you're racist. David Hines, you're racist. Kidaki Amsterdam, you're dishonest. David Hines, you're dishonest. No. You think it's by mistake Jaguar to say nobody listens to David Hines? You think it's by mistake Freddie Kisson and all of them just refer to David Hines now as the Black Pudding Man? Because they're using the term Black Pudding Man in a derogatory fashion to make leaders such as David Hines look small in the eyes of the very people that they should lead. And in short, they're saying to the people, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. So the leaders are there. But are the youths open to listening to the leaders and taking guidance and learning from the experience of the leaders? Are black families cohesive enough for parents to put their children together, to sit and have discussion? People who need leadership and the leaders themselves. I love Buxton. This is where my neighbor string band. This is where me belongs to. I will always stand firm in fighting for Buxton and fighting for black people and fighting for Guyanese. This is where I know this is where I belong. This is where I believe people deserve a brighter day. But hey, I'll be honest with myself, I'm a realist. And I always say it. I've been saying it openly and now I'm saying it on social media. Buxtonians can't stand me as much as I will stand for them. Comfortably. The oppressor is the enemy. Use because of my outspoken nature. You know what I try to do? You got operatives of the PPP were given to him to give farmers in Buxton. Do you know government, any government, as a matter of fact, that gives farmers tents and so on? But that's what they do. Warfare to besmirch your character. So that the people who should be listening to you, the people who should be hearing you, leadership to them. So where are the leaders? The leaders are there. There are people who are willing to offer leadership. Some who called yesterday to tell me about 50 pounds and 2 suitcases or whatever. Call to, again, I would say, besmirch the character of Dion Abrams, who was at one point in time chairman of the Buxton Falls NDC. They ain't do nothing for nobody. But that very caller will not acknowledge that under the leadership of Dion Abrams, there was a properly constituted ground management committee for the Buxton community ground. That same individual will not acknowledge that there was a well laid out plan to upgrade the facilities at the Buxton community ground under the leadership of Dion Abrams. But they will try to besmirch his character. And he gets understanding capable of leading. To those who want limelight, self-aggrandizement, to undermine their own cause, and they don't even realize that they're undermining their own cause. Like I said, we will make you the Don with it. Prevent, despite the fact who have contributed to that success of the cricketers for all the years. Just so that what? The football, at least in black communities. So we got a work cut out. Savannah Page, I'm stronger than they think. Many people expected, as old people say, Tagas last night morning. They are Buxton and Buxtonians, but Africans and Guyanese. But back to this particular topic. They come what they met. They met a foundation on which they could build. While they were building on that 4 feet of Africans. And so some people say like crab in a barrel. They believe that the only way they can get up. You listened to Ben Shop last night. His son is doing exceedingly well in a British university. Has been at universities in Britain. But the government controlled have refused to grant him a waiver that says you can go on to do your masters, after which you will come and serve the people of Guyana. So they're digging the foundation out. Do you remember the matter with a young man, I think was due to graduate in a few mornings in Cuba? When Dottie Paraxi must come back home because of the only medical professional, I think in the, what they call it, endocrinal, internal medicine, something to do with hormones. He would have been the only certified medical personnel in this country. In that particular area of internal medicine. So you think was just politics was oppression. And politics could be oppressive too. They didn't want him to have that honor. So they were trying to look for a way to put a spoke in his wheel. I don't know what is the end of that story. Do you remember dead foul preventing 2 or 3 female sisters, well, female gotta be sisters anyhow, 2 or 3 female African Guyanese? They were receiving an all expenses paid scholarship from one of the international agencies to go and study maybe drafting or something. All they needed was the release from their jobs. Y'all remember that Fowl denied them it? How many of you can remember that? So they came and they made foundations on which they could grow and stand. They could stand and go. But what they did, the very people who prepared the foundation, they were digging it up. People who created a condition that they could come and get paid for their labor, they were undercutting and undermining those very people. I can go on and on and on and on. It is 24 minutes past 8 o'clock. Many people wonder, I speak so glowingly of my children and so on. But very rarely I call their names. Very rarely I post their... Because I believe I don't have to present itself. Let her close with this one. There's a certain business in this community. I've instructed, quote unquote, their dependents not to support. Because that business is seen as supporting what I do. They say hint to Beniba make Kwashiba take notice. And every dog get hint. So people who know. Who don't know? Fought for no. 26 minutes after the 8 o'clock hour, the lines are open. The lines are open. While they are denying Ryan a waiver of a few years, I have seen the evidence. Our file, I've seen the evidence. And the same public service ministry of a sitting minister of this government and was minister of the PPP in a previous administration. That minister's child benefited from millions of Ghana dollars. Millions, hundreds of millions perhaps. Hold the line, caller. Studying medicine, I think in Grenada. And when the time came for that young lady to get back in keeping with her contract, fraudulent arrangements were entered into, and she was declared mentally unstable. In short, she was declared mad or semi-mad and not capable of completing. When the facts show that she did complete her course of studies, she did receive her white coat, and at the time when I was at the PSM, she was working in a private medical institution in this country. But in order for her to not be bunged to the people of this country, they concocted their stories. Waiver. That waiver. Call it live. Good morning.
Morning, Kodaki. Did Shah Rukh Khan or any one of them perform in Guyana last night for Indian arrival?
I don't know. I paid no attention. I doubt it. And come
August, Monday, 1st August, they're going to bring a slew of performers. And our people are going to flood it and support their people who are bringing these people in. These people will not do that for their own, but they're going to do it for us, to take away from us. Good. Next point. To that lady that called yesterday and talked about we should hush up and talk about present, she's sounding just like the whites who say, all right, that's in the past, forget about it. Let's forget about it and move on. That's in the past. And a lot of them think that our history started when we jumped on those boats and came across here, right? On this part of the world. I want that same lady to go and tell the Jews, stop talking about the Holocaust, right? Let her go tell them, stop talking about that. That's in the past. Let her go and say that and see what they're going to tell her. You know, but we quickly to hush our own up instead of learning of our past and planting a proper future. You know what I mean? As Marcus Garvey said, people without a history of their culture and past is nothing more than a dead damn root, a tree without root. Yeah. But it's sad though. And thanks for your lecture this morning. I hope a lot of them listen to it. Anyhow, you have a good day.
Thank you, caller. Lines remain open 6225933 is the number to call. You're tuned to the Buxtonian Morning Time. Lines remain open 6225933 is the number to call. Call and let's talk the thing. Call you live, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I was trying to get this picture off, but I ain't getting it. I'm calling concerning, I went to the hospital, and the same bed that they put in the bed on, the stretcher, the same stretcher they want to put people on. After I objected it last night, and I tried to take all the pictures, the nurse told me, you can't come in here and take out picture. And I said, well, all right, you stop me when I take it out. The point that I'm getting at, one stretcher for the old big West Lemar Regional Hospital, the man come in, he's full of blood. They just take the water, throw it on the stretcher, and drain it off. No sanitizing, nothing. And telling me my wife must go on it. After I object, they tell me I got a right. I got a sign for self-discharge. I said, well, no, she's under your care. If you want, you put her out. I'm not moving her. So till afterwards, I lift my wife and I take her up in the ward. Where are we heading?
Well, everybody believes that they're in control. They got power. They could run things. Right? And it's the end of the week, so let me bring this up that we're talking about, that this health issue has come up. Right now, I understand the nurses and doctors are made to work 12-hour shifts. Emergency nurses and doctors are made to work 12-hour shifts because there is such a shortage in the healthcare sector right now. Can you imagine the chaos? The mental lapses that can take place? That's what we're dealing with.
Okay, well, I now heading out to go back to the hospital. And I'm going to see the course. Let me hear what they're going to tell me about it. I'll keep you up to date.
Sure, thank you, caller.
You're welcome.
Somebody is raising a question about the minister's niece that was caught with cocaine. Somebody said last night that that young lady got a scholarship from the government of Ghana. I'm not sure, I don't know. 622-5933 is the number to call. It's 8 hours 33. I'm waiting for the defenders of the wickedness to call. Because that's what they are, defenders of wickedness. Call in live, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning. All right, man, let me piggyback on that guy that the caller there previously before this one in regards to speaking about our history or the life that we are going through, and people are asking us to be careful and to forget it and stuff like that. And he mentioned the Jews. He's perfectly correct. You just open your mouth and say one thing about that Holocaust and what they're saying about the Holocaust. It's not that they will condemn you. They'll crucify you. You dare not go up against anything for the Jews. Past history and present actions, they destroy you. You know, and that's the sad thing with us. We are being told so many times how we should construct our life or behavior, everything in general about us. Is that it becomes a norm. You know when you continue telling somebody one thing over and over and over, it becomes a reality. And that's the problem with us. You know, see some of us jumping down on when somebody criticizes Granger. You know, and those same persons, them, you understand me? They're out there criticizing Jack Dave and the others. You know, but when you say Granger, when you bring Granger into with his behavior and his participating with Jack Dave, it's a different story. So we got a problem. Secondly, with regards to what you were talking about being a patriot and stuff like you're perfectly correct, and I would like to piggyback on that too. Let me tell you something. There's two major problems we have in Guyana there: patriotism and racism. I don't know how we're gonna fix that, because when somebody have no feelings for their country and they are racist, you understand me? I don't know how we're gonna fix that, or where that country gonna be heading for. There are a particular set of people there in Guyana, most of them, this and the present government. Guyana is a cash cow. That's all Guyana is being seen to most of them, as a cash cow. The only time they holler that I'm a Guyanese when they go to the next man country and something passes up in their ass and they have no other alternative than they're shouting. Then they remember that they're from a country, they belong to a country. You know, but otherwise than that, those people just see that country for what that country could give to them. That's all. That's all. And those same set of people need to be given £50 as limitation in their suitcase and post them out to Guyana. You know. So that's the problem. Indeed, we have some serious issue there with in Guyana, particularly amongst us. You know, particularly amongst us. I don't know how we're going to get things in order, but trouble. That's my take, Kadiki. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. So there's a shortage in the healthcare system, but we talk about who come and what they come for, and what they come and meet, and what they did to those that they met. Lines remain open. 22 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. You tune to the BUXTONIAN morning time. It's still a sunny and beautiful day outside. Call, let's talk the thing. The Jagabats and trenches, they don't like to hear these things. They like revisionist history. Right? They like revisionist history. But when you bring the facts, they can't deal with the message, you tackle the messenger. Call all the line.
Kadaki, remember the movie The Rise and Fall of Idi Amin? And the reason why Burnham did not want it to come into the country because it was nothing more than a videotape of propaganda. This way it was, like that one just spitting out instead of doing research and see. Same thing the other day. I had to pull one up about talking about Haile Selassie and what Haile Selassie did to the Ethiopians. But then when I asked him if you know anything about Mussolini and Haile Selassie fighting, when I asked him about weapons, chemical weapon that was used on the Ethiopians, he knew nothing about it. Yeah.
Some of us only know a small part of the story. I like to refer to that piece by the African writer, The Danger of the Single Story. Caller Live, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Everything that the caller spoke about, I agree with. But one thing adding to what I replayed yesterday, the woman mentioned that if you're she was in a community and they would assist the less fortunate. Now, I have qualms about that. Look, yesterday was a big holiday. And if anyone viewed the bad life that I did, I was cleaning my trench. Now, for other people, they want to clean the trench. They would have called somebody and they might say, look, you got to pay me a granger to clean out this trench. And bow I gonna pay the granger. The granger now would have could have come back into my finances to do something to me that is more empowering to me. I went and I cleaned my trench. I was a single parent and I had to educate my children. And I did it to the highest aspect of education. We went down where we talk about Mark's son. I think Mark should go ahead and have his son educated. Because I could remember when they were giving scholarships nilly-willy from Cuba, lots of people went, lots of Indian children, Kuli children went on those scholarships. And when they got there, they were not educationally equipped to handle the teachings in Cuba. If I'm not mistaken, I think one of Moonshine niece fell into that area of not being fully educated to handle the educational classes in Cuba. Lots of them who had money used to send money and pay the children away. But Cuba got fed up because Cuba don't like turn out nothing bad. So Cuba told them that if there was the type of children with a low-lying education coming to them to be trained further, they will scrap the program. I think Moonshine niece was around few others who were sent back. The girls used to pay for the education, but you know about the part. The boys, the family used to floor them. And seeing that Cuba was in that state of sanction, money going well, your daughter going to turn up anyway, moving along. Early in the week, we had press association, and they were talking, if they fat guy talking E for press. Remember what happened to C.N. Sharma? C.N. Sharma was beaten so many times that you don't hear nothing about him. His TV station was removed from its frequency and he was placed on 2 bans that crippled his economy, his TV economy. Also, HGTV was placed on a ban that certain things. You had this announcer, Roger Moore. He was being sanctioned by the PPP when he used to do the afternoon calling program. He was sanctioned. This by Stan Gavaya was another one, I think, that was being sanctioned. And now they get upon talking about press. Look now, they are not allowing the opposition to have any amount of press time.
If it wasn't for programs like these on Facebook, we would not have been hearing nothing from the opposition. And with all the installed regime has the monopoly of the public media, they are now resorting to people like critics and them to bring out their voices, because they have destroyed the National Press Association, whether it be TV or newspapers, that the most of the population don't listen to them. So they're resorting to these same platforms that you have. And when they go on the platforms, they're getting like 10 or 15 people watching at them. So we are still way in front of them. That is my thing today.
Thank you, caller.
Okay. Kadaki.
Yes.
Hello. When do you want me to do the thing that you told me about yesterday?
Don't worry yourself. I had too much on my plate this morning. I totally slipped. We'll talk about it. Don't worry yourself. You got enough time.
All right.
Good. 6225933 is the number to call. Somebody is saying CN Sharma is a madman. CN Sharma was and still, I believe, is a thorn in the flesh. Well, was, because I don't think he has an interest in being a thorn in the flesh of the PPP anymore. Right? I think the name was Mata Prasad. Every time Sharma showed up, Mata Prasad turn up. And beaten into subjection. A fine example of PPP bullyism. Call here live, good morning.
Morning, Kadaki. Morning, Guyana. Give thanks to you, brother. Right there.
Caller.
What it just basically shows is that...
Caller.
Yes.
We lost you for a bit.
Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. But what I was saying is that they know where you lost me, but you and Dr. Hines are great Guyanese in what you guys are doing, informing the people each and every day. My take is, what are the Indians' narrative in reference to when they came to Guyana and what had taken place? I don't hear Indians talk about that and how they were put in front of the Africans that came and what had taken place. You don't hear them say anything about that, at least from their slang. It just goes to show that the vindictiveness of the Indians in the higher ups of the party, and even to their supporters, these people are simply hell-bent on domination. And it's there right in front of our eyes, but we refuse to call it out, see it in any mass numbers. What they have done to folks with radio station, what they have done to Mark Benchoff's son, what you had explained about the Indian doctor where she was classified as mentally unfit. I mean, it's so on and on each and every day. But yet still we've got Africans that support that bull. I just don't get it why we are not able to put a dent in this disinformation that they're perpetuating each and every day. And Guyanese are just have a blinders on them not to see what's actually happening. And I think small inroads are being made, but it's not enough to overthrow this racist party. And I commend you and Dr. Hines for pushing through and to getting the word out. And I simply share the information that you guys are putting out, and I thank you and Dr. Hines each and every day. That's my take.
Thank you, caller. Lines are open 6225933. Is the number to call. I see the fat guy talking about reparations the other day? Am I imagining things, or did he mention that those who are indentured laborers must also get reparations? They were paid. They were paid. Reparation is a black people thing. Like it or lump it. The indentured laborers were paid. They came on a contract. They came of their own free will. So when we talking about the reparative justice, and we talking about the reparation money, they are not included in it. Call your life, good morning. Call your life.
It doesn't matter who are running the country, but as long as you provide people with proper education, you have to lift the bar as high as you can be. Because back in the days, as everybody, you have to refer back in the days, there are so many scholars came out from Guyana, plus Buxton. You had so much well-educated people. And why we cannot continue to raise the bar, regardless if it's the PPP, the APNU, the AFC, whoever is there. Look at Mr. Nigel Hughes. He got his education. Everybody, these are top people up there. People, as a man just talk about the Holy Cast, you can't talk anything about them. You know what? Then next thing you know, your business go down and put you on the news media or anything. I don't understand why when we talk anything about Guyana, people always have to reprimand people or say this, because you're enlightening people, you're bringing it out there. There was a patient that I know asked me, what is going on with Guyana? Why Guyana is not producing scholars and educators and all this kind of thing. So I asked him, I said, what do you know about Guyana? He said, young lady, I know so much about Guyana, not because I am white. I read up on Guyana. I follow Guyana to know now Guyana is coming down to the bottom. Why people are not pushing and standing up and talk and go out there and talk about the education. They don't, you have to know your history. Why? We cannot get upset. We have to know. We have to teach. Indian people teach their family about everything. Why black people cannot stand up to know about black culture? Why? Why you say, oh, we don't want to learn about them things? No, you have to know about it. Because a lot of times, sometimes you go back to school and you have to take a program. What are you going to do? Go learn about somebody else's culture where you don't even learn about your own. Nobody have to get upset with each other. Is educated. More education is better for you. You can able to teach your children, educate your grandchildren, and tell others about your culture. Why you think most Africans, when you come to this country, and you see how these Africans push their culture, what going on there? Nothing for Guyanese here. Nothing. When you talk, you have to talk about other people. You go to other people and sit back and enjoy what people put out. What is going on? So nobody can prosecute you or put you down to say what you do. We all supposed to do it, but people make the choice of they don't want to. And there's some people going to talk good and some people going to talk bad. And do not look over your shoulder for those people. The Indian people are doing it, so black people need to stand up and do it. Nobody cannot tell me who I should be as my friend. I don't care. I choose whoever I want to be in my friendship. So the same thing goes for education. If I see that you are an educator, I'm going to stick with you because you enlighten me and make me learn about my culture. So people need to understand this and do not run you down or put you down. In America, it's freedom of speech. That's the reason why people like to come out there and stand up and preach and talk. Yes, I know this because this person enlightened me. I go and I look up in the computer and I find this about that and know about that. Come on. People need to stop. Just sit back and relax in your quiet moment. You just sit down. The AP and UFC, all of them, they need to stand up and they know the education that they got. Why let the younger people get the same education? When you see somebody's doing them wrong, you need to stand up and say, look, no, we need to educate our people more. Come on, you just sit back and then you want to expect somebody need to put you back in power there? Look, all of them who's sitting there, I applaud Mr. Norton, but they need to run those Jacobites out of there and put young people the AFCAP and all of them, get them out, man, because it seems like they're just suppressing the people down. Why you don't want you got to get the young people, they've got to be involved to push things out there. Who, when we had the election, who ran, we let them go in the computer and Google and see who was pushing to bring people out to vote. Kadaki, have a good day.
Thank you, caller. There's a voice note. Which is it?
Morning, Kadaki. Yeah, the call is right. There's enough to know about the Ethiopia or Selassie when the Italian Mussolini invaded Ethiopia, and then the Selassie he went to the UN and asked them for help to intervene, and son, nobody come to his rescue. And Ethiopia suffered the consequence. But in Gaza, you could say Selassie get a reward, because Mussolini own people hanging in the streets of Italy. So, yeah, so some we already got no history. Indeed. Yeah, that's my contribution. Take care.
Lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. Monday we got some co-op business to talk. I've been putting it back for a while now, but we gotta talk about some co-op business. The PPP got the goons doing it. They're on the backs of Trevor Ben again. Oh Lord, we can't help all you. They will use many of us to say it is us. Yeah. Oh Lord, oi. Call out live, good morning.
Yeah, bless good morning, Mr. Kadaki. Mr. Kadaki, what I want to say, Mark, I know you are a very intelligent individual. And so, Mark, what I want to say to you, I want to remind you, Mark, your son is your future. All your children are your future. So don't worry if they want support or don't expect that they're going to want to support your son's opportunity. You stand up as a father and do all what you can do for the benefit of your son. And in the meantime, you can still fight against that kind of foolishness. And for Guyana nation, it matters not who is in power, who is in authority. The important thing is what they are doing when they are in power and they are in authority. Are they living for righteousness, or are they living for wicked and evilness? And what is taking place in this country is a lot of evil going on with the leaders, those who will be supposed to look up to for example, and those who are in charge of different sections, they are unwilling to do what is right. And I mean, they are not living for righteousness, they are living for wickedness. I have no apology in saying that. You look at Tugville School, for example, what is going on? The children are getting shocked from the walls. parents getting shot from, and you're calling on the ministry for do this, do something. They are not doing anything about it now. What the hell is that is taking place? The minister need to resign if they don't want to function and take control and look after all the children of Guyana. When you're a minister of education, your responsibility is to everything that they deal with the education system, regardless of which community, regardless of which school, regardless of what race is in, the population of the people. It is your duty as a minister, and that's what is going on in this nation. The leaders, they are wickedly, evilly, selfishly doing things that is not in accordance to the benefit of a nation or its citizen. And that is where we get evil trying to control or to dominate or to manipulate people. So our leaders need to come to themselves. Nothing wrong with Guyana. This is a blessed nation, nothing wrong with this land. Our land is blessed, over 28 different minerals we get. Now we find oil, we could count as 29. Our population is not even 1 million. That is above what you could call blessing. It is more than what we can ever ask for. It's the leaders, the wicked one in authority. And Guyanese need to study Ephesians 6:10 and understand what they are wired, and the churches, them need to come to themselves. All imposters and deacons and leaders need to come to themselves. God bless this nation. We're going to get there.
Thank you, caller. (622-5933) is the number to call. You are tuned to the BUXTONIAN morning time. It's 9 o'clock. We'll take one last call. I see Vincent Notkosh. Is it Vincent? Colin Abrams says he attempted to tell his daughter-in-law about Dr. Martin Luther King, and she said to him, "I don't want to hear about him. He's dead." No respect for the ancestors. No understanding of the sacrifices that the ancestors made for her to enjoy the freedom that she can enjoy. Right? And that's one of the things. That's one of the things. Somebody asked about leadership. That's a problem. A lot of our youngsters don't recognize the sacrifices. You know, a lot of those who are in this very BUXTONIAN community talking crap about people, they don't know the sacrifices that folks like David Hines and Dion Abrams and UC Quran and myself and Corbett Victorine.
Blood is boiling when I hear these guys, these people calling and complaining. Broke up the place. Go out there and retaliate. You understand me? You get rice mill, you get sawmill, you get supermarket, we have gas station. We ask them to complain. But I kingdom to come and help you guys. Huh? You're making yourself a fool. You guys have the authority. You have the power. No masses must be afraid of the government. The government is supposed to be afraid of what the masses can do. And you're complaining, you give me a break. Bye.
That was a voice note. Yes, they despise the sacrifices of the elders out of ignorance or arrogance. And that is part of our problem. Final call for the day. Caller, good morning.
Hi, good morning to that. Good morning to the viewers. Remember these people preaching about one Guyana. That is the one Guyana we're talking about. It is coming out to the open. Everybody knows that these are a pack of racial people that run in this country, install catfish government, and they talk about one Guyana. They want to preach one Guyana. Everything that they boredom get on track, they want to tear down everything. Everything they want to tear down. And then they're talking about one Guyana. What is it to give African or black Guyanese a scholarship. What's it with that, right? They don't want to do that. Some Indians don't have the head to go about getting diplomas and these things, and those are the people they're trying to push. Those are the people they're trying to push. These people are racial. I thought the white man was racial, but I think these people are more racial than the white man. I don't know what's up with them. And in their eyes, in the white man's eyes, they are just another black person. They're just another black man. So I don't know what's up with them. But time will tell. We are getting there. We are getting there. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. And thank you for tuning in. We haven't had our oldest program 2 weeks in succession. One was the concert week and one was last week, funeral of the late great Henry Rodney. This week, I hope that we're going to be able to have oldies tomorrow. So you can tune in about 6 o'clock tomorrow. Let's have some oldies. Because I know for a fact, and tomorrow is going to be what? Pre-Mother's Day. So I got to go and look for some good oldies for my mothers and son, because I want them to have a great time. Good? The following Saturday, I doubt whether we're going to be able to have a program. I have a relative who's going to be buried on that day. And that is expected to go away into the evening. Right? So have a good day. Stay safe. Make some money. Share some money with us here so that we can keep this going. Keep us in your prayers. Continue to share the live. Subscribe to the YouTube and Facebook page. And so let's grow the audience and get the message out there. Have a good one.